In April of 2023, I testified before the Judiciary Committee in what was called the Manhattan Field Hearing on Victims of Violent Crime. The reason that I testified is because I am a victim's advocate. My boyfriend was murdered. He was the love of my life. He was murdered over 20 years ago by three people, two of whom got completely away with it, even though one was a parolee. So I was testifying as a survivor of a homicide victim, someone who's been, grotesquely affected by violent crime, and also as a victim's advocate of over 20 years who has worked with mothers who have buried their children, victims of domestic violence, all kinds of victims of violent crime. I was there to testify because Alvin Bragg, in his day one memo, promised not to prosecute crime and basically invited criminals to come to New York City in what was a free for all. When we were there, I knew that we were walking into the lion's den, but I really had no idea how evil and vile the Democrats could be. We were there to tell our stories as victims and as people who care about the city and care about other human beings when the Democrats came loaded with talking points and ways to discredit what we have been through, as victims of violent crime and people who have buried our loved ones under horrific circumstances. They did not come with any humility. They did not come with any compassion. They came armed with talking points to discredit us and to push their agenda. That was something that I don't think anybody could be prepared for. Watching these hearings go on across the country now as more victims are getting to tell their stories, unfortunately, that have to tell their stories. A lot of these people never should have been victimized. All of these tragedies were completely preventable, which is what we're fighting to stop. We're fighting to stop the bloodshed that is going on across our country, in cities across our country. And I see the same thing. None of these Democrats are walking into a room filled with victims created by their policies, ready to say, I am so sorry that this happened to you. We are ready to change course. They are doubling down in front of a father who told the heartbreaking story about how his daughter was dragged out of bed naked and shot while on her knees, probably wishing that her daddy would come and save her. And they sat there cold-heartedly, armed with their talking points, to discredit this man and lie to his face and say that crime is down. Well, crime might be down on the numbers that they're looking at, the fudged numbers by their parties, by their people and their prosecutors who refuse to prosecute crime, who dismiss charges, downgrade charges, and then dismiss them altogether. But that does not mean that victims do not exist, and that does not mean that crime does not happen. They cannot erase the stories. They cannot erase human beings. No matter how hard they try, they're going to have to eventually answer for their failed policies and this failed social experiment that is getting people killed. At some point, somebody has to say, okay, we've heard enough and this has to stop. Apparently, we're not there yet, but I hope that these hearings across the country continue. I'm sure that they will, that more victims get to get out and tell their stories, and that the Democrats start listening.